May 4th in history. In 1471, England was torn apart by the Wars of the Roses. Yorkist King Edward IV marched his army toward Tewkesbury to crush the remaining Lancastrian forces. At the Battle of Tewkesbury, Edward's forces overwhelmed the Lancastrians. Young Prince Edward, the sole heir of Henry VI, was slain on the battlefield. With the Lancastrian heir dead, Edward IV secured unchallenged rule. The battle effectively ended the Lancastrian claim and shaped the Tudor dynasty's eventual rise. In 1493, the age of exploration was redrawing the world map. Spain and Portugal raced to claim vast new territories across the Atlantic. Pope Alexander VI issued the bull Inter Caetera, drawing a line down the Atlantic. Lands west belonged to Spain, lands east to Portugal. This decree shaped colonial history for centuries. It divided continents between two empires and sparked the Treaty of Tordesillas 1 year later. In 1776, tensions between the American colonies and Britain reached a breaking point. Rhode Island, the smallest colony, prepared to make the boldest move. On May 4th, Rhode Island's General Assembly voted to renounce allegiance to King George III, striking his name from all official documents and oaths. 2 months before the Declaration of Independence, tiny Rhode Island lit the spark of revolution, proving that liberty often begins with the smallest voice. In 1799, the British Empire set its sights on Seringapatam, the island fortress capital of Mysore, ruled by the defiant Tipu Sultan. British forces breached the fortress walls and stormed the city. Tipu Sultan, refusing to surrender, fell fighting at the northern gate. Tipu's death ended Mysorean resistance and opened southern India to British colonial rule for the next century and a half. In 1814, after years of conquest across Europe, Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte was forced to abdicate his throne, his grand empire finally shattered. On May 4th, Napoleon arrived on the tiny Mediterranean island of Elba, granted sovereignty over just 12,000 souls instead of millions. But Elba couldn't hold him. Within 10 months, Napoleon escaped, reclaimed his army, and launched the legendary 100 Days before final defeat at Waterloo. In 1865, after Abraham Lincoln's assassination, a funeral train carried his body across 7 states on a historic 1,600-mile journey home to Springfield, Illinois. On May 4th, Lincoln was laid to rest at Oak Ridge Cemetery in Springfield. Millions had lined the route, making it the largest public mourning in American history. Lincoln's funeral united a grieving nation and cemented his legacy as the great emancipator. His tomb in Springfield remains a national landmark visited by hundreds of thousands each year. In 1886, tensions between workers and industrialists reached a breaking point in Chicago, as thousands demanded an 8-hour workday. At Haymarket Square, a dynamite bomb exploded among police ranks. Gunfire erupted in the chaos, killing 7 officers and at least 4 civilians. The controversial trial that followed made martyrs of the accused, galvanizing the global labor movement and inspiring International Workers' Day. In 1904, the United States took control of the ambitious Panama Canal project, inheriting France's failed attempt to carve a waterway through dense tropical jungle. American engineers attacked the continent with massive steam shovels, battling landslides, tropical disease, and the rugged Culebra cut through 50 miles of mountain and swamp. Completed in 1914, the Panama Canal revolutionized global shipping, cutting the voyage between the Atlantic and Pacific by 8,000 miles. In 1919, China reeled from betrayal. The Treaty of Versailles handed Chinese territory to Japan, igniting fury among students in Beijing. On May 4th, over 3,000 students marched to Tiananmen Square, burning traitors' homes and demanding China reject the unjust treaty. The movement reshaped China forever, sparking modern nationalism, transforming its culture, and laying the groundwork for revolutionary change. In 1942, the Pacific War raged as Japan expanded across the South Pacific. American carriers steamed toward the Coral Sea to block a Japanese invasion force heading for Port Moresby. On May 4th, dive bombers and torpedo planes from the USS Yorktown struck Japanese ships at Tulagi. For the first time in history, opposing fleets fought without ever seeing each other. The Coral Sea battle halted Japan's advance on Australia and proved that aircraft carriers, not battleships, would decide the war at sea forever after. In 1961, 13 brave activists, 7 black and 6 white, gathered at a Washington, D.C. bus terminal, preparing to challenge segregation across the Deep South. The Freedom Riders boarded 2 public buses heading south, deliberately sitting together across racial lines to defy segregation laws still enforced throughout the Deep South. Their courage in facing brutal mob violence galvanized the nation, forcing the federal government to finally enforce desegregation of interstate travel across America. In 1970, tensions over the Vietnam War reached a boiling point on American college campuses. At Kent State University in Ohio, students gathered to protest the recent invasion of Cambodia. On May 4th, Ohio National Guard troops opened fire on unarmed student protesters, killing 4 and wounding 9 others in just 13 seconds of gunfire. The Kent State shootings ignited a nationwide student strike, shutting down over 450 campuses and turning American public opinion decisively against the Vietnam War. In 1979, Britain faced economic turmoil. The Conservative Party, led by Margaret Thatcher, campaigned on bold promises of change and renewal. On May 4th, Thatcher won a decisive 43-seat majority, striding into 10 Downing Street as Britain's first female prime minister. Thatcher served 11 years, the longest-serving 20th-century British PM. Her free market revolution reshaped Britain's economy and redefined conservative politics worldwide. In 1982, Britain and Argentina clashed over the remote Falkland Islands. The Royal Navy dispatched a massive task force across the Atlantic into hostile waters. On May 4th, an Argentine super-étendard launched an Exocet missile that slammed into HMS Sheffield. The warhead ignited devastating fires, killing 20 sailors. Sheffield's loss stunned Britain and transformed naval warfare. It proved that a single guided missile could destroy a modern warship, reshaping defense strategy forever.